There we go. All right, welcome everybody. Dingy, are you ready to go?
And it's starting up.
Okay.
It should be good.
Well, and then welcome everybody to the first official Global Tank League games. These are for seeding, so these do count for something. They are not necessarily a part of the season, though these are very important for these four teams who are going to be playing tonight. They're fighting for the gold league. How many teams can get in the gold league tonight, or is it just one?
Well, there'll be a total of 10 teams. The seedings haven't been completely figured out. However, tonight should be some good games. Looking forward to watching everybody play. And I don't know, I just want to kind of throw a lot of teams in there. These won't be the only four teams you're going to see fight. You're going to see a lot more teams fight before it starts up. But yeah, there'll be 10 spots in the gold.
All right. So who we have here with us right now is Don Shadow, who is the stream moderator, or the game moderator. Sorry. Then we have Sinister Phase, who is actually one of the head admins. GotADingy, who is a streamer, and Enraged Tanker, who is a co-commentator.
What's going on, fellas?
I got everybody's roles right.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Now, for those of you who don't know I'm gonna say WNF all the time. GTL is Global Tanks League. It's a new styled tournament series, and it's going to be 8v8. And unlike Wednesday night fights, you will only have access to 2 of the same vehicles. So you can't go 3 Super Conks, 3 215Bs, and then a Bat Chat. You're gonna have to go like 2, 2, 2, and 2, or 1, 1, etc., etc. So it's lots more tank variety, definitely, and the 8v8 instead of the 7v7.
It's like ONUR6 wants steps.
I'm picking it right now.
For those of you who are watching on my channel, we are dipping into, those of you who haven't been paying attention to all of my videos, I've mentioned a couple times something was coming, and then I'd mentioned it was going to be the Global Tank League. This is it. Competitive is on my channel now, and I hope you guys enjoy. Of course, hopefully I'll be playing a couple of these eventually, once in a while, but otherwise I'm mostly going to be streaming the games.
Crap.
Another thing I need to mention to anybody who's watching is these do have a 10-minute delay, because the games are 10 minutes, and it is live, so what is said will be said, and nothing can undo that.
You can't edit it out later, like.
Nope, it's live. You're
No.
watching it. It's like, what?
Yeah. I gotta watch my language.
Whoops.
Well, here we go. I'm excited for this to start.
Oh yeah.
So steps. What do you think of this map, Clone? What do you think is one big advantage to this map?
Big advantage. Definitely. Oof. This map is clockwork. You know, one direction or the other, really. I feel the best way, definitely, to win this game is to go the same direction the enemy is going, but faster. So if you spawn C line and the enemy team, of course, spawns J, and the enemy team wants to go counterclockwise, then you would want to anticipate that and go counterclockwise with faster tanks, catch them from behind. And so it's all about anticipation. You see what tanks the enemy team picks, and then you want to, try to assume which way they're going, try to catch them, and I think that's the best way, in my opinion, to win this map, is just to catch the enemy.
Now, with the new update / nerfs and buffs, do you think meta has changed on this map at all, or do you think it's still pretty much the same?
Well,
Well,
you're adding two tanks that really have never been played on console in a comp that's been streamed recently. Yeah, people have played some comp games with the 5A and the Super Conk. I think when we played ONUR6, that was one of the first times we saw a Super Conk in a streamed match in a 5A. So once again, this is just going to be another little taste of two tanks that you're going to be seeing a lot of.
definitely. I think there's going to be a whole lot more blitzes with the new 5A, I think. And then, of course, a lot more turtling with the Super Conqueror. I think if you see Super Conqueror, they're going to be sent somewhere to just hold a line. And then the 5As, if you see 5As, they're going to probably be that blitz tank. A couple of 5As, a couple of IS-7s, and then you should probably expect a push coming. Now, nerf tanks, I
I
don't
mean,
think it's going to affect the batch. Sorry, you will. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All right. I
I
don't
was
think
about to say,
yeah. You know what? Go for it.
I was gonna say, I was gonna say, with the 5A, it's definitely just another more DPM to add to the IS-7s. Like, it'll be good for pushing a couple IS-7s and a couple WZs. Now that you have that DPM, it can still have the IS-7s as a hold down support tank. Now, come behind you.
Mm-hmm. I think lead with an IS-7 as the hammerhead, and then follow in with a 5A.
Mhm.
One thing about the bat chat, of course, it gained a few seconds on its reload. I think it's 42 seconds without food. At least it is for me right now. I don't think that's going to affect the gameplay too much. I think all that's going to do is really change the game a little bit on cliff and mines, because I know there's a lot of center rushes with bat chats on those maps. So I think bat chats are going to have to think differently. Otherwise, though, I just think it's going to mean the bat chat's going to have to hide and scout a little bit more instead of already being loaded 38, 36 seconds later. Otherwise, the clip
Most
damage
definitely.
is still the same.
So I think one of the big differences you're going to see here in GTL over some of the other leagues that we've seen a lot of recently is going to be only being allowed to have two identical tanks. For instance, only two bat chats, only two super conks. Well, what this was designed to do, it was pretty much designed to make people play a little bit more variety of tanks versus seeing five bat chats rolling around on an open map and a couple of IS-7s or 113s and seeing five IS-7s on a city map or something to that extent. Um, like I said, it's designed to, it's designed to kind of break that up a little bit, the monotony of just seeing the same old tanks being played time and time again and seeing how people can adjust to that. The other big thing is we were thinking about doing a 7 or an 8, like 878, having 7 tier 10s and 1 tier 9 or 1 tier 8 or 6 tier 10s and 2 9s. But it looks like both teams ready. If you guys want to roll down the sides, and we'll get this going.
All right. I'll get Selva if Enrage you want to get on your 6.
Sure.
Never mind.
Once, once it comes up, I guess.
All right.
Yeah, I definitely like the two tank rule in the sense that it's always going to be something different. It's always going to be something fresh on each map. Strats are going to change constantly depending on the teams that play, and it'll be interesting to see how matchups are played and how rivalries shape out.
All right, on Selva, we have Already, I'm gonna mess this up his
This is
name.
going to be new, isn't it?
Zazen in his E4, JP in his bat chat, Chick in his bat chat. Then in his I7 we have Leork. Then in his E5 we have Pegasus Brazil. Then we have Cake in his Super Conqueror, Overlord in his Super Conqueror, and I'm just gonna call him Joe and his Chieftain. My gosh. All right.
So on your 6 we have Beaver in the E4, Mr. 1 to No One in an E4. We got SVT Kill to Live in a bat chat, Patangi also in a bat chat. We got Boogie Eagle in an IS7, the Fish Fan, and BK Fly Kid in a Super Conks, and then we got Combat Squirrel and the Chieftain.
They have mirrored spreads right now. Well, actually, they got a bat chat. Selva has a bat chat moving up towards the middle, but other than that, it's almost mirrored. And he's lighting them up.
That was some good spots right there. That's big, knowing where the other team's going, and you haven't had a single tank spotted yet. Huge.
Always keeps you wondering.
I get a little worried when I see E4s on this map, just because that hatch is just so pennable. There's really no place for it to hide, hold down. I mean, that hatch is just a big target.
You know, I was gonna ask what your guys' take on the E4 was on this map, and that's my exact take. Big open maps, I don't like using the E4. The only map which is somewhat open in a big medium map, which I will usually run in E4, is Morovenka. Other than that, I usually only run it on city maps.
You know, I have seen, I don't know necessarily about the E4 on this map, but I have seen an E3 used quite a bit on this map, sitting back, hold down, and they have been pretty effective on people that try to push down the middle.
I'm almost wondering with those Super Conquerors if pulling out artillery on the other side, well, artillery on either side, would come in handy, digging out these Super Conquerors sitting hold down.
Yes and no. I mean, you give up a tank on the front lines and up there in the fight with you, but being 880, you kind of might have that extra tank to give up like that and put constant pressure on the enemy team. So it might not be a bad decision, at least in the early phases, to try out.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more viable an option than in a 7v7. Just because more tanks. You can, 2 Super Kongs
For
hold,
sure.
defend that arty as long as your team can hold long enough for that arty to make up for the damage you've lost, the hit points you've lost, then I feel it can come in handy. Right now it's just an HE fight. Both teams are shooting Hesh at each other.
And that's what a lot of this map is at the start, is going to be, especially with these new Super Conquerors, and you know, the WZ and IS7s can go hold down. It's hard to pen your shots when all you can see is people's turrets at the start.
Oh, definitely.
And no one wants to move.
I think the meta has definitely changed for competitive on console because of the Super Conqueror. It seems to be lots of stalemates I've been seeing in these games where teams just sit on ridges and they neither want to push, they load Hesh. And one thing I've been doing to counter that is making sure I have more medium tanks than the other team, and then sending them down the other flank and making sure they win their flank. Just hold with the Super Conquerors, let your mediums take their mediums out, and then get them in a crossfire.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of it is, well, when teams are doing like this kind of like a little just ridge fighting, if you have the mediums, that gives you the ability to try to pinch them in.
On the other side of the map, we do have ONUR6 making a sneaky play with their bat chats. They both did get spotted, but their presence is known. We might have... Nope, their bat chats are running. Selva's running. ONUR6 is holding.
ONUR6 might be able to take some advantage of some early
while
shots
they're running,
on these bat chats.
easy kill. Had Pat had gone around the right side of this rock, he would have caught JP easily out. Unfortunately, For him, however, he went around the wrong side of the rock, not knowing JP was right there, and he would have had easy shots into him. But he does have shots on the side of this chieftain. He does nail one in the side of the turret of, oh, lots of names in the way of Joe.
Still pretty much shot for shot competition over on the right side though.
Indeed. I think in this kind of engagement, I wouldn't be surprised if Selva comes out on top, just because if those E4s get spotted, they both have cupolas, and I think that's really going to cause them to bleed. Meanwhile, over on Selva's side, all they have is this E5. Now, this E5 is pushed up further, so he is constantly spotted, so this may actually not go well for Selva, because they may lose an E5 first, just because of his cupola. They might get, ONUR6 may get brave enough to push.
All it takes is for one tank to go down, and then instantly people are thinking, okay, it's time to make a play, it's time to push, and you're always looking at, and now with the new hit points that you can see on enemy tanks, it's going to make it so you can predict kind of if you're going to win that push or not, like what the risk factor is behind that.
So the bat chats for ONUR6 backed all the way back to their side of the map. You got to wonder if they're looking to see if those two bat chats from Selva were going to follow them over there and then potentially try to capitalize on the tanks that were going to be almost essentially in a 6-on-8 type scenario. But it looks like ONUR6 does go back up the center with their bat chats. And the E5 is hurting right now. He is on life support.
I would personally, I don't think I would choose an E5 on this map. I think I would have gone with the Patton over an E5.
He takes a shot from an E4, he is all done.
Again, that's where those E4s can change the game. Those APCR rounds.
Straight through.
Quick shot. Don't take much. Pretty close game so far. Again, it's pretty much been trade for trade on shots, and who can hit their shots and pen the most. And I can't see, are they still firing HG? Does anybody know?
Looks like everybody is out of high explosive rounds except for the chieftain on Joe. Joe's the only one with HE, and an E4 has HE left as well.
Now it looks like ONUR6 is trying to make a play
has
here.
A lot of HE, actually. Oh,
they're making a play. They're going to make a play.
And that was
they
the
might get punished
perfect
for
time, honestly. They actually made it through without losing many hit points. That E5 pulled back because of his health, and it allowed ONUR6 to make this push. Now, they're going after this IS-7 first, and honestly, he's got the most health in the lowest DPM. And now they're in the low ground. I don't think this is the right play. I think they should have pushed up to the right. Let the IS-7 shoot them in their side, but focus their attention on the Super Conks and Chieftains. Because now they've given up their sides and rears to the Chieftains and the Super Conquerors in this bat chat. I think going after the IS-7 first was the worst thing they could have done. But if they focus fire, get him out now, they can still recover from this.
Still a close game hit point wise. It all comes down to that focus fire and being able to pen your shots.
Yeah, if these bat chats can empty their clips, the bat chats are already reloading, unfortunately. And down goes Boogie, but hit points are still close. If these E4s can hit a couple more shots. Oh, he misses the kill on the Super Conqueror. That was a big miss. Will Beaver be able to find the shot? He's aiming it up. He can actually go straight through the Super Conqueror's turret if he doesn't hit in the mantlet. Hits right next to the mantlet. It's an easy penetration for an E4 firing gold. Is he going to find it? He's aiming it up. Oh, and it does. It goes straight through.
Nice shot.
The bat chats are about to reload for ONUR6, and they might get a clip out right now. But this bat chat went up early, and I think he's going to get knocked out of the game because he's the only tank they're going to be shooting at. But here comes another bat chat. Overlord might be going down. Kill is going straight, and he's got to clip him out, and now he's got to put the rest of his shells into this chieftain. But now he's left these E4s by themselves. The chieftain is going down. He's got another shot left. He does finish him off, but now he's on the reload. Bat chat comes in. Bat chat, unfortunately, oh! Beaver misses his shot on the E4. Now the E4 is freely emptying his clip into Mr. 1. Mr. 1 does put a shell in, a big one, but now the Batchat has to get out of there. And all that's left is this E4 and Batchat for Selva. This was a big turnaround. Those tanks that didn't push in with ONUR6 were actually the bane for Selva. Because Selva invested all of their tanks. Down goes JP. Selva invested all of their tanks to kill the 4 tanks that had pushed in below. And because of that, it looks like they were just fish in a barrel and the game ends.
That was quite an
Wow.
ending, though. That was
Mhm.
probably one of the best games I've seen in a while. I mean, it was good in the fact that you really thought Silva had the game won, and then ONUR6 comes back and just takes it from him.
Oh yeah, it was
Yes.
beautiful. It
Now,
was, yeah.
on the thing on Selva's side, they had the high ground, they had the super conks with the depression. Do you think they should have pushed in on them tanks, or do you think they could have kept picking them apart from up top? But considering those E4s were right on top of them as well, I don't know what the right play for Selva would have been. It would have been to stay up or go down.
Well, to be fair, when ONUR6 sent their tanks into the valley, they were as good as dead, and it was what it was. They did as much damage as they could, and as you can see, all of them combined only did a little bit more than 2,000, almost 3,000 damage among 4 tanks. But that's because they were in the low ground, and they tried their best to kill the IS-7, and it took them way too long. Now, Selva, I think, definitely should have stayed up top, because the minute they entered down below, every tank was invested down there, except for the 2 Super Conquerors. Because they invested 6 tanks down below, the E4s were allowed to feast on them, and both Batchats emptied their entire clips in, while Selva's Batchats were nowhere to be found. And I think that was the big thing. I don't think you could argue they shouldn't have pushed in, and I also don't think you could argue they should have stayed up top. I think the big difference was the fact that both Batchats for ONUR6 were able to hit every single shell from their first magazine, while Selva, both their Batchats were nowhere to be seen, and that's almost 4,000 damage difference.
There you go.
Yeah, that was huge, and I think the other big advantage that ONUR6 had, you get 2 tanks that can possibly pop you for 1,000 damage.
And hitting
in
their
2
shots.
E4s.
More.
And hitting those
Yes.
shots. I mean, that's if you think if both of those E4s touch a full health tank, there's a good chance it may be dead, and if it's not dead, it's going to be on life support. And that's exactly what they did, and that is what really salvaged that game for them, was those 2 E4s sitting in the back shooting. I think a lot of other teams might have panicked at that point in the fight, knowing that their team's getting a beating on the bottom, and just start rushing those E4s in instead of keeping calm like they did and just keep putting in the shots and just keep hitting the shots from a distance. It kept those 2 tanks and their hit points out of the fight long enough to recover and for the Batchats to reload, and it provided the damage they needed to keep themselves in that game.
So looking at the lineups here, they're going to be quite similar, although I see Selva's choosing to bring 2 E4s as well. Looks like they liked how that E4s performed on ONUR6's side, so they're going to bring a couple themselves.
The E5 again. He got twatted on last
There
time.
it is.
Was that a draw, or did Silva win that one?
It was a draw. But
Silva won that one. Yeah, it was technically
won.
it was a draw, but it would be a Silva victory because I'm sorry, it'd be an ONUR6 victory. I'm sorry, ONUR6 victory because they killed more tanks than Silva did.
It's a point to ONUR6.
It is a point to ONUR6, yes, sir. They are up 1-9.
Just wanted to make sure.
All right, looks like 8 teams aside. If you guys want to go ahead and go down the lineup, and then we'll get the game going again.
All right, I'll take ONUR6 this time because that's easier for me. 2 E4s brought out by Mr. 1 and WNF Beaver. Then 2 Batchats by Kill and Pantangy. And on I-7 is Boogie Eagle. 2 Super Conks is Dat Fish and BK, Fly Kid. And then Chieftain is Combat Squirrel.
No, I don't know if I'll be able to pronounce these names, but I'll give it my
2
best.
E4s, 2 bats, and
I'll
I-7.
go. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, basically they're bringing 2 E4s, 2 bat chats, an I7, and an E5, and 2 super conks. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with pronouncing not awkward names, but names that it's just I cannot pronounce Rich at all. So I'm just not gonna bother.
Well, here we
if
go.
Anybody
Game
else
two.
wants, if anybody else give it a try.
I think you get the point across. We know they got 2
Yeah.
E4s, 2 bats, an IS7, an E5, and 2 super conks.
My chat's yelling at me. They're trying to teach me how to pronounce it.
No,
Tudo. Who's Tudo?
you did a great job. I don't know.
Okay.
I tried to pronounce the first one, and I'm just like my head's spinning. So.
Well, I'm just hoping game 2 proves as interesting as game 1. Game 1 was a spectacular game. I think that's the kind of games you like to see, games that aren't just a complete runaway. And you got to hand it to you on your 6. You're doing a great job in keeping cool, keeping calm, and bringing that back and taking it back because it really looked like SELVA had him.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that it was so close, like even with everybody firing HE, like it was so close till ONUR6 made that move, and then you start to see the hit points bounce a little bit, but in the end, ONUR6 came victorious.
I think the big life or death situation from that battle was the 2 bat chats from SELVA. They did miss a couple of shots, and just in watching that engagement when they were down on the bottom side, I honestly think they were focusing the wrong tanks at the wrong time. They had a one-shot tank that both bat chats basically circled around and went and shot a different tank.
Mm-hmm.
That's in my book. That's a big no-no. You see a one-shot, you get him out of the game as quick as possible.
Mm-hmm. And that just goes to show how a couple of shots in a close game like that can turn around a battle.
One thing SELVA's very good at is getting these early spots. This is the second time they've been able to spot more than 50% of the enemy team without getting detected in return.
Mm-hmm. Tangy even getting spotted in the mid and not being able to spot that bat chat still. Nor
he's at the wrong rock. Unless otherwise, maybe he knows something I don't. But I feel if I remember correctly, it's the other rock with the bush.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can use that bush for cover if you have a good enough bat chat crew with the camo perks. Yeah, you can get away with pushing that far. And you can basically spot right to the track. So if teams do not cross those tracks, you got a good enough bat chat player with a lot of perks and crew spotting, all that stuff. You can pretty much spot right to the tracks.
So a famous play I like to use a lot, and of course, just looking at the lineup from the first game, if I knew that was the lineup I would be potentially facing in the second game, I probably would have leaned towards more medium tanks, like Clone Guy was saying, and I would have sent my bat chats in mediums. Ooh,
Super
boy.
Conqueror decides to go over the ridge instead of around the ridge and get smashed by an E4.
That hurt.
That's us. Now you guys all know. Don't do that. Don't go. If you're spotted, don't go over the ridge.
Especially when there's 2 E4s on the enemy team.
Yeah, take your time, take it easy. Go all the way back to the border if you have to go down into this little river. Well, eventually it'll be a river, and then go up and over if you have to. Just sometimes taking it slow is the best.
And as a caller, you kind of always want to evaluate the enemy lineup with your team, at least to give your guys an idea who's going to be on the other side, who's going to be shooting at you. Especially like you said, there's 2 E4s and they can pretty much end a tank in 2 shots. So.
Now Kick is
It's
by
always
himself.
good to have that knowledge.
SELVA is pinned right now in their little box. I think something that ONUR6 can do right now is definitely start slowly pushing up further and further and start just corralling Selva into this corner. But of course, right now
Selva's
they're
bat
out.
chat is spotted on the far side, and neither ONUR6 bat is spotted currently. So they have an idea that the two bat chats from Selva are coming around the back side of the map currently.
What these bats could do is they could go through the field and assassinate this Super Conqueror, and this would cause the E4s and Super Conquerors from Selva to have to poke up to execute those bat chats, but by doing so, it would allow the E4s and such from ONUR6 to put turret shots in. So that could be something they could do, though at the same time, that is more of an all or nothing play.
There's some shots exchanged there.
There you go, an IS-7
Selva looks like they're
pushing
going to
up.
start. Yeah.
This is where the
See, he took the
Super
right
Conq
path.
should have gone.
Yeah, he took the right path.
Ooh, BK taking a hit.
Yeah, he took a hit from the E4 as well.
I feel like the bat
That's
chats are going to
big,
be the
but
deciding factor right now. I think the bat chats
ONUR6's bat is spotted in the center.
bats are going to make a play right now. The bleed is evil. Even. Why did I say evil? Who knows?
Both teams still just trying to feel each other out, it looks like. Selva looks like they're trying to work themselves up into a better position, get their Super Conq and their E5 up a little bit closer, and mirror almost exactly what ONUR6 did last match. And there's an HE shot from Cake and his Super Conq for 23 damage on the Chieftain.
I feel if I was an E4, I would have loaded a lot more HE. I currently have 7 on my E4. But I think in this kind of engagement, you have an E4 sitting somewhere in the back. Like, put these E4s further back, load them straight up with HE and start just hitting turrets. And it's just going to bleed them so fast.
The other thing I think you could think about, if you're going to be in this type of engagement and this is the style of game you want to play, why not bring out the Death Star? I know it's not the most accurate gun in the world, however, the possibility of cracking somebody for 600, 700, 800 damage that's hull down, plus breaking a gun or killing a crew member is huge.
I think
I
I
mean,
would
this is-
personally rather artillery.
Yeah,
The
or
only thing
artillery,
with the-
one or the other.
The only thing with the Death Star on this map is where do you put it? I mean, you can put it far enough back, but if it gets spotted, I know its turret's been buffed
Bats
and
are
it's kind
putting
of hard to
in
pen now.
shots for Selva.
You can
Or
almost
for
put it
on
where
your
Mr. 1
6.
know it is right now.
Bats put 2, 3 good shots into JP, and then another couple good shots into this Super Conqueror for ONUR6. Oh,
Oh,
and
and
he
there
goes
goes
down,
JP. That
sniped
changes
by an
everything.
E4. I don't know why he was going
Tilts the
over the
game.
ridge there instead of on the left side or the right side of it, but he went directly on the ridge. Huh. Simple mistake.
So you gotta think. So you gotta think now that ONUR6 is a tank up, being there's 3 minutes left, that they're gonna want to make a play here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be making this play though. You've got the advantage. Keep it.
Not only are they up a tank, it's a medium tank. There are 2 full health bat chats for ONUR6. They should, in my opinion, have stayed over by the tracks and just continued to keep these guys looking in 2 different directions. But
Yep.
now ONUR6 is making a play. I don't think it was the right time to do so. I think they're up a tank, they're up on hit points, continue to bleed. Now BK, where he is, I feel he's almost... He might get executed here. I think the IS-7 is in a very good position to counter him, and so is this Super Conqueror. And I think they're prematurely pushing and they're losing their advantage. I think they had 2 bat chats. They should have let their bat chats continue to work.
I mean, they are doing kind of what you said now. I think they're a little too close, but they're going to be hounding these tanks from the side now. And now you see both E4, the Super Conq, and bat chatters turn their attention to those 2 bat chats.
The
so it might give
Selva
some
bat chat
opportunity.
needs to be heads
They
up right now. He needs
evaporated
to understand
this
how
E4
many
when he poked.
shots. Yeah, they did. He needs to be counting shots, and he needs to be looking to take advantage of these bat chats going on reload, and he needs to make his move when that happens.
Still a full health E4. Here comes the push. This doesn't look good for Selva.
Yeah, it is. It definitely doesn't look good for them right now, as the
Down
rest of
goes
their tanks
Super
are all looking
Conqueror.
the wrong way.
They never got out of that pocket. Cake was the only one who was able to get out of that pocket, but he lost most of his health to do so. And now they're getting executed as they try to run. It's just map control. These bat chats were able to get entire map control on the other bat chats, and were allowed to do what they wanted. They got some turrets to turn, and got up on hit points, got up on a tank, and now it's just over.
There is enough one not advantage, but Selva did have a lot of tanks that are low health on your 6. I don't know if it was just part of the brawling situation or just was it poor focus fire, but there's
The
a
biggest
lot,
problem, I
lot of
think,
tanks.
well done by ONUR6. Those 2 bat chats did exactly what they had to do. They had every gun turned facing them. Instead of looking at the 5 tanks coming at you, they're looking at the 2 bat chats in the back that are going to be a lot tougher to hit.
Yeah, and another
That
thing,
was really the turning point of
they
that
had
engagement.
Selva only having one position on the map, they only had one firing lane. So anytime ONUR6 had a tank that was low on hit points, all he had to do was pull back and find a different position. He didn't have to worry about anyone being able to shoot him, because everybody was shooting from the same location. There was no crossfire, no different angles. So it made it very easy to figure out where you need to go to stay alive for ONUR6.
Yeah, I like that point. It comes down to, and I feel like that part of the map that Salvo is on is more known for teams getting caught in that position. I feel like I've seen more teams get caught in that little bowl there more than any part of the map on steps, other part of the map.
Yeah.
So we're going on now to Himmelsdorf Night Encounter. And right now, ONUR6 being up 2-0. This is do or die right now for Selva. They need to pull this one off.
Now, Himmelsdorf Night, that cap is on the hill, correct?
Correct. Cap is on the hill. All tanks spawn between A1 and A4, I believe. And JH2 to, or I'm sorry, JK2 to like JK5, I believe, are the spawns for the other side.
Now, would we all agree to that the main play on this map is to go to the hill? I mean, there are
Yes.
other strats,
It's just
but
2
that
ways
is
to come up
definitely
the
the
hill,
most
so
common one.
get up that hill first and hold it. You can get some
Yes.
super conks up there, and it's almost over. That's what we were playing against 8th 2 nights ago, and that was the case. They would always send 2 tanks down the 3 line or the 8 line, and we would invest everyone up the middle, and then there was no way for them to take the hill back. It was over. You can shoot their underbellies. They
I'm
come
a
up.
firm
You can track.
believer that hill is exactly that hill is make or break. The only time I think this would be the only map where I'd ever really consider playing a waffle, and the whole reason would be keeping them at like somewhere on the like 2 or 3 line to make sure you own the bottom side of the castle. But again, that's not something I'd recommend all the time. It's a really risky play, but if you ever want to play a waffle in comp, this would be one of the maps I'd recommend it on.
You know what's funny? 8th actually did take a Death Star, and they put him there. And we had predicted.
Yeah, that's
We had predicted he was going to go there. However, we had someone who wasn't used to competitive and don't go to the outside of the castle. Didn't mean anything to him, and he got one-shotted.
Ouch.
He learned very quickly that you do what you're told.
Yeah. What a better lesson
my
to
biggest
learn
fear.
than at the hands of the Death Star.
My biggest fear with the Death Star from that distance, though, is the inaccurate gun and then the 24 seconds to wait afterwards.
Hello, Lonky.
Or 26, whatever it is.
Lonky saying hi.
To me, that's the biggest downfall to having one all the way down there. Unlike with the waffle, it's a lot more accurate, we'll say. And yeah, I mean, you're gonna pop off what 6 rounds
Yeah, and I mean with those
6 rounds,
APCR
7
rounds, you
rounds.
you can't really like not pinch people, especially
Yeah,
if the team
exactly.
gets
You
caught
can
in the
end a
side.
tank right there,
Yes,
exactly.
sir.
And that gives you control of the bottom of the hill, and that gives you more angles of fire because you can get tanks onto the bottom side, and if they step anywhere near E9, you're gonna get blasted.
Uh-huh.
And that's the only beauty to having waffle on the bottom is just the fear factor alone of allowing you to get two angles of fire where you have the bottom side of the castle and the top side of the castle. So you're catching tanks on one side in the bottom, and you're catching tanks on the other side, and potentially in the bottom. The only time it will backfire on you is if the team's smart enough to try to push around the top side at like F0 and come around. But if the other team's good enough at countering, they can always turn around, just come back and help out. The waffle can move up a little bit and hopefully pick some shots off at a rush from the top side.
From this side, from the south side, I like bringing 215Bs with the Super Conquerors because believe it or not, you only need 7 degrees of gun depression to work the G0, G9 area. You can actually get your gun all the way down to shoot people as they come up the ridge without exposing your hull. And so this is a great map to pull those tanks out. Just get 4 hull down beasts, and then you can really just hold that hill.
Sir. And I'm noticing with the tanks, like I'm surprised. I'm really surprised I haven't seen a WZ or even two IS7s for taking like getting a quick hill.
Yeah, I'm
Actually,
shocked that we're going with. I can understand the Super Conquerors from the north side, and of course I can see them from the south side as well. But I'm surprised we're not seeing any 5As. I really am.
mm-hmm. I would for sure bring at least 2 of them. Well, I'd bring
Looks
2.
like looks like each team has 8 tankers aside ready to go. I'll do the SELVA one this time. I'll take a stab at pronouncing some names.
All right.
And on SELVA we got Zazin, we're going to call him, with the T110E4. Luigi Piranha with an
That's
IS4. Lela York with an IS7. JP Coder and a T57 Heavy. In Chico Loco in a T57 Heavy. Vegnik in a T110E5. Overlord in a Super Conch. And Cake, we're going to call him, in a Super Conch.
So you just made that look easy. You're natural.
I made most of it.
he's had two whole turns, and he's just been studying. He's actually been using Google to look up
Yes.
their pronunciation,
Yeah.
listening to it
This
over
is
and
in the
over again.
background, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on your 6, we have 2 E4s, a 57 Heavy, 2 E5s, Super Conquerors, 2 of them, and a Chieftain. I do like E5s on this map because I think I pulled actually against 8th. I pulled one of them out as well. And the reason being is because your goal is to not get into a hull down fight. Your goal is to get up on top of the hill. And as soon as you're up on top of the hill and you're fighting level, the cupola really doesn't matter because everybody's aiming at lower plates.
I mean, I really like the E5s. I still love my E5, even though that I feel like people say it's been power crept a little bit, but I still a solid all around tank. And in comp, I still believe it still can get the job done.
Consistent 340 pen with its heat. It's trolly. It's lower plate, the ability to troll bounce even premium rounds.
See, I still remember the E5 was one of my first tier 10 tanks back before it had the heavy duty the high def model. And I'll tell you what, that thing was no way, shape, or form a brawler. Oh man.
I had an M103 way back in the day, one of my first tier 9 heavy tanks. And I never switched, I never got myself an E5 after I'd finished that grind because I remember in my FV422 just being able to right bumper E5's upper plates and go straight through. But now it's a monster. That upper
Yeah,
plate is
now it's a little bit different.
oh yeah.
Rip the tier 10 FE 402.
Oh man, bring it back. There is talk in the forums, not in the forums, there was they didn't say when or any kind of time frame whatsoever, but in one of the the weekly assaults console has, where they just talk about things. They mentioned that they are planning to bring back tanks which have been removed, and so I'm just hoping that means a 4202.
Mm.
Because they still haven't
I
renamed the
mean,
4202P to a 4202 like they did on PC. So I'm
Hmm.
hoping. I'm hoping. And you
Yeah.
still fight against them in the Proving Grounds. You still fight against 4202 tier 10s.
huh? Did not know that.
Well, it looks like both teams are going to take the advice and go up the hill. So this should make for an interesting engagement. It's all going to be about who can get the better angle and hit their shots. I'm guessing that both teams are going to leave their super conks kind of at the back side of the hill so they can use that depression and kind of help with the area by the cap, which they can also support the other area as well below the cap at the bottom side of the castle. But
I7 and 57 Heavy both make it up at about the same time. But the rest of ONUR6 is already up on top of the hill. And this is a huge advantage for ONUR6, just getting up first. And now they're going to be in a very good position against SELVA. And they're probably going to be able to put some side shots in
SELVA
here.
didn't get spotted. SELVA
That's
did
true,
not
too.
get spotted.
If that Chieftain, if all that
That's
Chieftain
big.
does is poke around right now, he'll spot them all, and then they'll
He's gonna
realize
get
that they've
hurt.
got high side shots. Yep. But the information is there, and that might be key. But on this other side, here comes ONUR6. This is going to be a fast fight.
Oh boy.
It's going to be over in 2 minutes.
Oh.
Here comes the
The
brawl.
E5 is blocking the E4
ONUR6
shots.
is in a very advantageous position. They've got the gun depression in the position they're in, and yeah, the Super Conquerors are gonna feast on SELVA. They have to make a decision. They either need to push those E4s or push the Super Conquerors, because right now those Super Conquerors are just gonna shred. Yeah, there they go. There goes the first
goes
E4.
E4 down.
Yeah, and then over on this position down here for SELVA, they've got two Super Conquerors who are not in the fight. They're just sitting there, hulled down, using their armor, but nobody's shooting them. I think they realize this, and here comes the Super Conquerors. Oh, the E4s look like they're about to make a push around the corner after the IS-7 and IS-4. No, they both put shots into the IS-7, though, and IS-7 takes some big hits. Now the Super Conquerors are destroying this 57 Heavy, who has his gun turned sideways. I think there's a little bit of a miscommunication, as JP kind of nudges him in the rear, and then Chick turned his gun towards him. Usually just pubs that happens in, but interesting. E5, once again, his cupola not working out for him, as every time he pokes, he takes hits. And now 57 Heavy emptying his magazine very effectively, but he may go down, though he did dump out 1600 damage pretty easily. E4 is executing. Actually, there's a Chieftain executing an IS-4, and now down goes the IS-7 once again. They just got corralled. This is the exact same thing that happened on Steps, except this time it was a lot faster. There was no spread for SELVA, and once they saw the Super Conquerors in that position, they had to make a decision, either push the E4s or push the Super Conquerors, because they were never going to win in a fight against two hull-down Super Conquerors and two E5s and 57s as support.
I really think the big kicker in that is once SELVA had the other team spotted, they just kind of stood and waited for the guy to come around the corner and shoot. However, they didn't get to their position first and take advantage of getting to the bottom side of that castle and stopping a push where you're going to get shot from every angle. If they had gotten their tanks out a little bit faster over that dip and gotten to at least the edge of the castle where they could see, they might have been okay, and they might have been able to come back from that. But without getting into position, it really hurt them, and they weren't able to get the penning shots that they needed. And when you had three tanks doing 0 damage and 2 tanks doing under 500, it really hurt. Just unfortunate, really.
Mm-hmm. 4 shots from Chick, 4 bounces. I guarantee they were all into a hold down Super Conqueror. Oh yeah, we've got Kill to Live blocking 2000 damage in his Super Conqueror. E5 actually blocked 1600. It might have been him as well. E4 bounced a bit. And I like their Chieftain Combat Squirrel only did 179 damage, but he was with the E4s. It looks like the E4s were punishing SELVA, and then the Chieftain would just come around the corner and finish him off, so the E4s didn't have to waste a shot. And, just a little cleanup.
So all in all, very exciting match to watch.
I was very excited. And I want to thank Selva and ONUR6 both for coming out tonight. Thank you so much for coming out and playing both teams. I really appreciate it. Thank you again. You guys have been great. And up next, we're going to have LG taking on Rated R. And this should be another good matchup. We've had the privilege to scrimmage LG. We've scrimmaged Rated R a couple of times, but not since they've kind of had a little bit of a merge with New Beginning. So I think this is going to make for a great game, and I'm excited to see the next one.
Also, too, we're coming off of, well, the comp scene anyways, is coming off of a pretty big break since the WCL. So most teams, I feel, are going to take a while to get underneath their feet again and get kind of solid again, like, get back in practice. And I don't know kind of how
Yeah, no,
everybody's
absolutely,
been
I agree.
practicing, but I know it's been pretty quiet even on our end with NL. It's been pretty quiet of late, so it's going to take a little bit to get back to it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And then of course it's the 8 versus 8, which is very different because it's usually 10 versus 10, 7 versus 7, but then 8 versus 8 is just this random number. I almost feel, and I feel most teams probably don't ever practice 8 versus 8.
Exactly. Exactly. So like I said, coming up next is going to be LG taking on Rated R, and I am excited to see this one. Let's see where this goes. And we'll take like a short 2-minute break, 5-minute break, something around those lines, where these teams just kind of gather in. If you guys want to keep talking, feel free. But the action will be back in just a couple minutes when both teams are ready.
All right. Very,
Sounds
very
good.
And I think, what can I do? I think I might. Do I split this into 2 videos? That way they can see. Or do I keep it one?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
You're gonna split it into 2? I think I'm gonna split it into 2. That way I can rename it.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Alright, well, thank you guys for tuning in. Stay tuned. I'm gonna end the stream and then immediately start back up in like 2 minutes. So do not worry. And then we are going to be watching LG take on ONUR6 for a great finale of a night. The last two teams. So I'll catch you guys in just a couple minutes.